If you've been looking for a budget-minded, all-terrain electric skateboard, one under $900, well, I've got one for you to look at today. The EXTAN from ExCruiser. Welcome back, I'm Tony, and today we are looking at one from a company that's really, well, they're new to me. I think they're relatively new as well. But while they may be new to the market, they've been working on their products for about 2.5 years, according to Warren. He's with ExCruiser, and he sent me an email to tell me a little bit about the company and this board. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to summarize the email that he sent me, then we're going to take a look at the actual specs on the website. We're going to take it for a ride, and I'll tell you all about what I think of it. So summarizing the email, it said we spent 2.5 years to develop the board. So the motors on this are EX5540B. It's a belt motor, totally new design, he says. With the same size, their motor torque is larger than the same voltage level motors, more powerful. Battery efficiency is 20 to 30% higher than others. I'd say the battery's pretty efficient. The motors are very quiet when running, and they say they never exaggerate their parameters. The motor size determine the horsepower. We'll talk about the specs here in just a minute. They wanted to make it simple, neat, and more durable. They thought about doing stuff like lights on the board, and they said that's just one more thing that can go wrong with it. We want to make the board simple, and we want to make it cost effective, which is smart because they're a newer company. If they put out a good board at a good price, people are going to want it, and then they're going to talk about it. Now, this one's pretty interesting because when I first saw this board, I was like, oh, the battery and the ESC are on the bottom, and it's an all-terrain board. Yeah, you know, that just gives more things for it to get caught on, to get hung up on, and for the casings to get damaged, right? He says they used aluminum alloy for the battery and ESC casings, and I'm going to tell you, they're stout, man. They're nice big things, and they've got a nice rubber seal around them at the bottom of them. Seems like it's really secure. As he says, the ESC and battery are key components to an electric skateboard. Yeah, definitely, and the board will not be safe if they're broken, so they are putting the extra effort and money into putting these casings on there. They chose Samsung battery cells, and they wanted to make sure the power supply and battery are safe in charging, so that's a good thing. They're trying to minimize the risk of battery issues and fires and things like that. They use pneumatic tires, and these tires say nylon on the side of them. I don't know, but they seem to be regular pneumatic tires to me. But they are nice and grippy, they stick, and the treads on them seem to work really good for urban terrain, you know what I mean? And a little bit you're gonna see off-road too. They use Continental belts, and these belts are imported from Germany. They didn't want to use local suppliers in China. They wanted to get these better belts, so that's good. And rather than just standard grip tape, they used a nice foam grip tape on this, which definitely, I mean, this is a very comfortable board. Well, let's check out their website and the specs on the board. First of all, they do have other boards. They have the mini fish board, which is $399. That's a hub drive. They've got the long board, which is $649, and that's a regular belt drive motor with the motors mounted just like the board that I'm riding today. Then they have the street board, EXHME, and this one is a direct drive board. And then of course they've got the all-terrain. So they've got pretty much all the bases covered. They've got a hub drive, they've got a belt drive, they've got the direct drive, and then they've got the all-terrain. And the best part about it, this board is only $899. I think that's their summer sale, and that's just going to go through this summer. It's very smart. Make a good board and make it with a really good value. They're probably not going to make a whole lot of this board, but they want to make a name for themselves. So they say the top speed on this is 28 miles per hour. I'd say, yeah, it'll definitely do that. Battery on this is a 12S3P using Samsung ICR 18650 batteries, and the wheel diameter is 150 millimeters, which is important if you're talking about an AT board. All-terrain, you're going to be going over a lot of stuff. So you'll see in the ride footage that I'm going to show you that this thing does really good with clearance, so I was pleasantly surprised with that. As for specs, the deck material is 8-ply maple, 2-ply fiberglass. The deck is 38.5 inches long, and the max load on this is 265 pounds. I weigh 195 pounds, and I had no problems riding this at all. So for the range, they're saying 40 kilometers, single charge, comprehensive road conditions with 75 kilograms loading. So that's about 25 miles, but 75 kilograms is only 165 pounds. And they're saying on comprehensive road conditions, so maybe hills, I don't know what they test them on. Most of these companies, that is what they test with. So you have to kind of add your weight into the equation. I got about 17 to 18 miles on it. The trucks are aluminum alloy casting and forged CNC, 150 millimeter pneumatic all-terrain wheels. The brakes on this are electronic, of course, and they are adjustable 0 to 100%. And the power adapter that they use on this is a 50.4 volt, 150 watt high efficiency charger to ensure charging safety and battery life. Full charge time, 4 to 5 hours, that's pretty much standard. So some of their highlights: max power, 1,800 watts, top speed, 45 kilometers, range 40 kilometers. And this one's interesting. They say hills, 25% incline. Well, Maybe that's them just trying to be as forthright as they can on their specs or whatever, because you know, usually they say 30%, 40% grade, that kind of thing. I had no problems going up hills, as you'll see. And they say high performance featuring high quality wheels and powerful motors. This all-terrain electric skateboard can reach speeds up to 28 miles per hour. Its advanced suspension system allows for a smooth and comfortable ride, even on rough terrain. The board's durable construction and water-resistant design make it perfect for adventurous riders who want to explore new places and push their limits. Even though they say water-resistant, I try to avoid water at all costs. I mean, if you're spending anywhere from $500 to $3,000 on one of these things, you want to protect it. I have old regular skateboards that after a summer of use and going through puddles and stuff, all the bolts are rusted and the bearings are rusted out. There's no reason to risk it with one of these boards, but if you do end up in a situation where there is a little bit of rain, you should be okay, or a little bit of wet on the road. All right, so this is a pretty good looking board here. I mean, it's pretty stout, as I talked about some of the metal parts on this, aluminum parts that you just don't see on other boards. Some good concave to it. Everything's looking really good on here. So this is my maiden voyage. I've got it in setting number 1, or mode 1 for speed, and let's just see how she goes. I did tighten the trucks up a tiny bit, and I also inflated the wheels. All right, on 1, ooh, that's barely moving. So granny mode, you know, if you're new to this, still on 1, picks up some speed after that. Feels nice and comfortable though. Smooth. All right, so now we're in speed number 2. There you go. Okay, let's try speed number 3. Wow. Nice. Okay, now we've got the torque and the takeoff. All right, here's number 4. Now, one thing I will tell you about this thing is it's really quiet. I'm surprised because it's got some big motors and belt drive and all that stuff. I can hear the actual tires riding on the road as much as I can the actual motors. So that's kind of interesting. Now, it's a little bit windy out here, so I don't know how well you can hear me right now. I need a better mic solution, but I'm on my hill that I like to test these things on. I'm in 3rd speed. All right, here we go. It goes right up that, not a problem. Now, something else I can tell you is that these trucks are super responsive. They're reverse kingpin, and they seem pretty solid. So I've got them, I only tightened them a little bit. Let's go ahead and try it on some grass. It slowed down a little bit near the end there because you're actually going over some, I'm sorry, because you're actually going over a hill. I got distracted going off the curb there, but try it in some dirt, see how it does. Now we're on some rougher asphalt. So torque-wise, it's not like a super torquey board, right? But as soon as you get going, boy, it picks up the speed and it goes. Now, actually, if you want torque, you can put this on number 4 for your speed modes, and you get a lot of torque. Check it. But each one of these gears, they don't start off the line super torquey, but once they get going, boy, they get going. Now, of course, this is my first day using it, and one thing I will say about this board is that it's really comfortable, and as a cruiser, and that is the name of it, ExCruiser, it's comfortable, man. The grip tape, well, that makes it super comfy, and it just glides, man, you know what I mean? Man, I gotta say, that did not do too bad at all. Wow. I mean, we're talking, there's sand, there's rocks, there's pine cones, a little bit of everything there. All right, that was some deeper sand I just hit. Got a little slippage. So as you see, I put this thing to the test, man. I took it in all kinds of different terrain and some good distance rides, carved on it and everything else. I'd say it's overall a really good board. If you're riding a regular electric skateboard with urethane wheels, and you know, I'm over 50, so any kind of comfort really matters, especially when you're going on a long ride. If you're going 5, 10, 20 miles or something like that, you want to make sure that you're going to be comfortable, right? Well, this board is super comfortable. As you saw, any terrain that I went over, no problems whatsoever. Trucks, they're nice and stable. The reverse kingpin. I think the board is put together really well. There's some interesting proprietary stuff that's going on here, and I don't know if that was because they thought it was going to be stronger or better or whatever, but we're going to talk about those. The wheels, they're unique. They're different from any that I've had. They're recessed bolt on them, and you can probably fit other tires on them, but you're going to want to stick with the size that they have on there because you can't change the pulleys, which we're going to talk about here in a minute. So if you put bigger tires on there or smaller tires, then it is going to change your gearing ratio, right? So the board is going to ride differently, may have more or less torque, that kind of thing. And these pulleys are proprietary, so you're going to have to use these rims on it. The pulleys, you cannot remove them. The motor mounts on this thing, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that looks like gear drive, but it's not. It's just that it's all metal. It's all aluminum that encases the entire thing. And not only that, that is your motor mount. I mean, so it's your belt guard and your motor mount all in one. There is some slight adjustment that you can do with these motors to pull them back and forth to adjust that belt. But you know, I mean, you're only going to use this same belt on here because you got to use the same pulleys. And also the pulley that's on the motor is large. So maybe that's one of the things they did to keep this thing quieter or something like that. But yeah, pretty much the configuration that it is, that's the configuration that you're going to be using this board in. Also, these motors appear to be custom for them because motors usually look a little bit different than these. They've got the wires coming up, as you'll see right here, they come up between the trucks and they connect in the middle of the motors, which is interesting because it's usually on the outsides of it, right? Like I said, there's some interesting decisions that they made while putting this board together, but I assume after 2.5 years, this is all stuff that they researched and said, this is the way we want our board to go. So, hey, there you go. This board is actually pretty flexy. As you'll see here, I'm in the middle of the board and then on the outside of the board, get plenty of flex on it. And I have to say, this is, I've got a lot of different boards. This is one of the more comfortable boards that I have to ride. It's really comfortable. Oh, and speaking of the wheels, it's a little bit difficult to inflate these wheels because the way that the stem comes out there, I mean, it's like really tight in there. And the pump that I use actually has a little little locking thing on it for the valve that's on there. So if I didn't have that, it might be really difficult. I was able to just jam it in there and lock it down. So the wheels were pretty much inflated how they should be. When I got it, it says up to 70 PSI on these wheels, which is usually 50 PSI. I only put them up to 40 PSI and I'm fine with that. And again, I'm surprised by the clearance of this board. I mean, you saw I went over all kinds of rocks and dirt and sand and over speed bump and everything else. It has more clearance than I assumed it would. I didn't really have any scratches on the bottom of the board except for on those belt guards or motor mounts or whatever you want to call them, because they're kind of all in one. And again, the padded grip tape, it really makes a difference. If you haven't used it before, you're probably like, but no, trust me, it does. So overall, I'm impressed with this board. For $899, I mean, I had the J King Jupiter on here that was like $799, and that one wasn't nearly as good as this board. I mean, this board seems like it's actually well thought out. Not that the J King board was horrible, it couldn't compare to this, and this is only $100 more. And if you've been looking at all-terrain electric skateboards, you know that they can be pretty pricey. I mean, if you're getting a 2-in-1 or whatever, we're talking at least $1,200 up to $3,000. So there we go. There are some other boards that are coming onto the market that look really promising at around $1,300, but again, $900. So if you're budget minded and maybe you're new to this, or you just want to upgrade from your street board, but you don't want to break the bank, this might be a good choice for you. It's a nice board. So that's the ExCruiser all-terrain. I think it's called the EXATN. And I want to thank you so much for your support here on the channel. Likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, always very important to my channel. So if you like what you see, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, there is a red subscribe button down there. You can hit that and the notifications bell, and you'll get notifications when I upload new videos. This channel's been around since 2013. Your support means the world to me. If you've been here since the early days, great. I'm super glad you're here. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. I hope you stick around. I do have a thanks button down there if you want to leave a monetary thank you. It's not inexpensive to run these channels, but the easiest way to support me is by giving this video a like and making sure you're subscribed. Well, that's going to do it for this episode. We'll catch you next time on the Vapor Trail channel.